Throughout the years, there have been many video games that have made their mark on history. Ones that have stuck with us through decades of fond memories and gross puberty things. Ones so utterly iconic that even the grandmariest of grandmas can take one look at it and know it by name. It's Pikachu! Today, I'm not talking about that. During the early era of video games, there were a lot of titles that didn't quite hit the mark. However, this doesn't exactly mean that they were bad per se, although, some of them were. Some of them definitely were. But that is exactly what we're going to explore today. This is a somewhat brief history of some of the obscure games that I played and loved as a child. Let's decide whether or not they've stood up to the test of time. Picture this. The year is 2005. You're in your local video store or Blockbusters or whatever with your mum. You're in the game section and you're looking for something to rent. Yep, that's right. For those not old enough, you used to be able to rent video games. Times have changed, it's whatever, we're moving on. In the corner of your eye, you see this, and you and your violence-crazed siblings collectively shit your pants. War of the Monsters, the unusual open-world beat-em-up inspired by kaiju, the giant oversized behemoths that love to beat each other up for one reason or another. Let me just start off by saying that this game has some of the most iconic and memorable sound design of all the games I've played as a kid. For those of you who actually did play this game when they were younger, let me just take a second to fill your ears with nostalgia. Developed by Incognito Entertainment back in 2003 for the PlayStation 2, War of the Monsters features a variety of different playable characters and levels, each with their own unique twists. A notable thing about this game is that the environment was almost entirely destructible, which was a pretty big thing for 2003, and very fun to mess around with. As the story goes, an alien race invades Earth, and humans attempt to fight them off using the military's secret weapon, which is basically just a giant magnetic butt plug. The weapon succeeds to take down the UFOs all across the world, and the Earth claims the aliens defeated. Unfortunately for the literal entire human race, the fallen UFOs leak a mysterious green ooze, and turns everything it touches into enormous rampaging monsters. Imagine defeating actual aliens only to then wake up the next morning to fucking Godzilla outside your windowsill. The game is heavily inspired by older movies, and it's not afraid to show it, with the title screen being a drive-in movie theater, and each different loading screen is a movie poster showing off each monster in a cheesy, dramatic format. The roster features a surprisingly small 10 characters, all with 3 different skins to unlock using tokens that you can get whilst playing through the levels. A lot of these different character designs were inspired by early classic movie tropes, and this is clearly recognizable at first glance. We got all the classics. We got Emperor Zurg, we got Godzilla, Monkey, Bug, Mike Wazowski. Unlocking these skins as a kid was a lot of fun, and I was very excited when I managed to get one that I liked. There was always 2 relatively similar skins with minor color or visual changes, and then a third more expensive one which completely overhauled what the character looked like. For the most part, they looked really cool, except for this one Zergulon skin. Now, I have no idea what this thing was meant to be, however, I do know that I want it as far away from me as humanly possible. Like, right now. In between every 2 to 3 levels, there's a boss fight, with 3 in total. These bosses being Goliath Prime, Vigon, and whatever the fuck this is. I have never been more disgusted in my life. Zergulon, you have got some steep competition, my friend. The boss fights can sometimes be challenging if you're encountering them for the first time, however, once you understand their patterns, it's more or less just a rinse and repeat situation for the most part. Each level of War of the Monsters is a location in the world in which one of the monsters was created, with some levels even having secret events that can occur after meeting specific requirements. If you destroy enough of the environment in this level, it triggers an earthquake that changes the entire dynamic of the map. And if you hit the UFO in the sky in this level, it causes a huge tsunami to sweep the entire city, causing damage to anything that gets caught in it. Yes, even you. Stuff like this was incredibly exciting to find as a kid, as you had no way of looking this kind of stuff up back in the day. It was all just trial and error. One more unique feature this game has to offer is its use of environmental weapons. There are things to pick up everywhere in this game, and you can swing them about and throw them to your heart's content. I mean, as if you needed them anyway, you're a giant monster for fuck's sake, but no, the game developer really thought a building-sized praying mantis with house-sized claws for hands needs to pick up a car and just fucking... One of my favourite levels for this reason has to be Gambler's Gulch, just because of the wide range of objects you can use to your advantage, from a huge stone globe to an exploding dragon head and even a goddamn sword. Overall, the game itself is relatively small, and honestly, the story kind of lacks replay value. In my opinion, you would absolutely get the most out of this game whilst playing with a friend or sibling, as most of the fun comes out of exploring all the nooks and crannies that each level has to offer, as well as just beating each other to a bloody pulp. This game was so much fun for me to play with my older brother as a child, and if you're interested in picking it up yourself, it can actually be purchased digitally via the online PlayStation Store. Personally, I'd love to see this game remastered sometime in the future, but somehow I feel like we won't be seeing that anytime soon. Next up on our list we have Maximo vs. the Army of Zin, developed by Capcom and released in 2004 for the PlayStation 2. This was one of the very few games I played as a child that I actually completed by myself. Most of the games during the PS2 era I shared and played with my brother. However, this one was mine and mine alone, and I loved it. I often looked back on Maximo rather fondly, that is until I actually had to go back and rewatch the gameplay for the purpose of this video, which resulted in me making the face you try not to make when your friend shows you their ugly baby. This game aged about as finely as a forgotten banana. Now, before everyone who likes this game starts doxing me and threatening to blow up my house, number 1, please don't, my cat lives here and she's very adorable. Number 2, I do actually like this game. I'm not necessarily talking about the gameplay, it has everything you'd want from a linear hack and slash. Weapon and armor upgrades, new moves to buy, secrets and collectibles, boss fights, you know, all that fun stuff. I'm talking about pretty much everything else. This game, for a lack of a better term, is pretty darn rough around the edges. It has that 2000s charm. But before I get into that, let's talk about the story. The main character, Maximo, is searching for his lost love Sophia, who went missing at some point during the first game. His search is interrupted by a bunch of mechanical monsters powered by lost souls attacking a village. These monsters are called the Army of Zin and were trapped in the vault of Castle Hawkmoor 500 years ago, as shown by the game's opening cinematic.
It must remain sealed forever.
Now, Maximo is known for being great pals with the Grim Reaper, you know, obviously, as during the first game they worked together to help defeat some evil bellend who was raising the dead. However, these mechanical doodads are powered by the long lost souls of a bunch of dead dudes, and we just know that Death ain't having none of that, so he sends his mortal plainsman errand boy to go and smash a few of them up. As it turns out, these angry pieces of cutlery are now being used by some big bastard by the name of Lord Bane, and he of course is up to no good. You may be wondering why I'm referencing the first game but not actually talking about it much, and the reason being is that I never actually played the first game. Now, the internet was a very confusing thing for me as a child, and there were hints that it existed, but me nor my mother, bless her, could actually find it. Now, I was going to research it on top of this game for the purpose of having a broader scope of the whole story. However, upon bringing up a video of the gameplay, one of the first things I was greeted with was foot cheese 500 coins. And that was all my poor eyes needed to see. I don't know the context, I don't want it, I'm done, and we're moving on. As I was saying beforehand, at a first glance, this game is very rough. For starters, the voice acting is hilariously bad, especially for the game's NPCs, which generally have to be saved from monsters during each level. These NPCs would have like 2 or 3 voice lines of dialogue for male and female characters respectively for like the entire game, with characters like the merchants having a few more, but they're all awful and they are all repeated over and over.
Thank you, kind sir. Thank you, kind sir. Thank you, kind sir.
and over. And to top it all off, their voices and character models are always so disconnected from what they're actually saying. This character's voice line says grateful, their character model says flirty, and their dialogue says, "Oh god, my family is dead, why didn't you just let me die?" Along with saving random villagers, you can also save merchants, or I guess you could just let them die too, it's up to you really. If you did manage to rescue them, however, you can purchase useful items and upgrades with your coins. Was this really necessary? You know, I'd be willing to let that slide if all of the merchants didn't sound like this.
Care to purchase an item?
Jesus Christ, dude! Drink some water! As for general gameplay, I mean, there isn't too much to say. It's a really basic hack and slash with some platforming here and there. It's nothing too special. You start the game off by saving a village, and then you fight a giant robot house chicken. Although one rather humorous thing to mention is that Maximo can quite literally be beaten down to his undies. Look at them with the little love hearts. And this becomes a thing later down the line that you can actually upgrade. Like, you can buy underwear from merchants that give you powers. Like, that isn't weird at all, nor does it raise any questions. Overall, Maximo is a game of nostalgia, and quite honestly, that's about it. It's average pretty much all around the board, and for 2004 there were simply just better options out there, and more fleshed out games that were dominating the market at the time. And that's obviously the reason why the Maximo franchise didn't go any further. Despite me practically tearing this game a new one, I still can't help but look back on this game fondly. I had a lot of fun with this as a kid, and I played it all the way through to the end, so thanks for the fun, Maximo, and I'm sorry for being a bit of a twat. And lastly on our list we have Hydro Thunder. Oh boy, this game. This game is on crack. Everything about this game is batshit crazy. Every boat looks like a damn spaceship, every level has hidden paths, you can go 250 bloody miles an hour using a giant alien monster's eyeball as a ramp after it tries to crush you, all the while somehow these people are wanting me to believe that these uranium-powered rocket boats have functioning cup holders. The maps you can play in this game are extremely varied, ranging from the Arctic Circle to ancient Greece to apocalyptic New York City. The boats in this game are split into their own categories from easy, medium and hard. Easy boats are great handling but slower overall, and medium boats are a little faster with less of the handling, and I'm only assuming that hard boats shoot off to the fucking moon and control like you're ice skating on butter. This entire game feels like a theme park on a caffeine high whilst you accidentally took too much acid, and a lot of the maps that I'm showing you on screen just completely overwhelm you with information. From spinning walls to the military to aliens to pyramids to ice caves and tourist speedboats and sirens screaming at you from behind for some reason, sometimes even watching this game just gives me heart failure. Hydro Thunder is a relatively short game, but it makes a big bang, and by short I mean the whole game can be completed in about an hour. It is really short, and I believe the reason for that being is because this was initially meant to be an arcade game, which in most cases are meant to be played in short bursts. This is yet another one of those games that you got more enjoyment out of back in the day by playing with a friend or sibling, as the competitive aspect of it made the whole thing a lot more enjoyable. The amount of energy this game gives off is serious. The only negative things I have to say about it is the fact that it is just so short, and on top of that, the game's music does not do it justice. I just feel like it needs something more. I mean, you know, some of the tracks are pretty decent, but even when they hit the mark, it seems to just be a tad quiet in comparison to literally everything else going on. So whilst playing the game, your ears are just assaulted by a boat engine with a small sprinkling of occasional music. Honestly, I don't have too much to say about this game because, you know, it's like an hour long. I just wanted to share with you guys how crazy this game is. On top of that, it's just a huge nostalgia trip to look back on, and I know that there are some people out there who have played this game before but have just completely forgotten about it. And there was even a sequel to this game by the name of Hydro Thunder Hurricane that was released on the Xbox 360 marketplace that looks just as crazy with upgraded graphics. I'm not too sure if it's available on any of the more updated consoles, but it's really not hard to see for yourself, just go figure it out. And that just about wraps it up for my first YouTube video. I'm sure it turned out a little rough, and I know I don't have the microphone quality to be doing this kind of stuff, so I know my voice sounds a little bit Probably shit, to be fair, I'm going to say shit, but hey, you know, we've all got to start somewhere, and I don't have the money for an XLR microphone, so shut up. So if you happen to enjoy this video, or maybe the YouTube algorithm has, you know, blessed it for whatever reason and it popped up on your recommended page, feel free to give it a like if you enjoyed it, and possibly even subscribe. I'm really looking forward to doing more of these in the future, and I would absolutely love all of your support. Anyway, I've got some more ideas for some videos, and hopefully they should be coming up soon, so stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.